All right, and welcome back to Hannity. We're now joined with our legal panel and their take on today's verdict. Fox News legal analyst Peter Johnson Jr., former prosecutor Masa Saidi Aski, and prosecutor Anna Siga. I'm getting all these right. Nicolosi is with us. Thank you all. Peter, you and I spoke early in this, and we looked at Casey's conduct, and we looked at her lies.
Sure.
And I said, this should be a slam dunk. And we both believe that. And I watched this trial, and I watched these closing arguments, and I was shocked myself that the defense attorneys did not, the prosecution did not meet that high standard of reasonable doubt in my mind.
Yeah, and didn't in mine either. And I pointed out as we were doing it here live on Fox, and I think it's a great day for the American jury system. A lot of people saying, well, how can you say that? I believe that she's guilty. But a jury verdict is the last word in our society. And if we don't do everything in our power to ensure that the jury verdict and not vigilante hosts and vulture justice reigns in this country, then we've got a problem. If we're going to honor the Constitution, then let's honor it in a courtroom in Orlando. Let's honor it through due process, through the notion of reasonable doubt. Whether we agree or disagree with this verdict, the jury of 12 decided that the prosecution failed in its burden. They failed.
This is what's so key. This is very important, and I thought Cheney Mason laid out the case you're making. You're more articulate, though.
No, he's a great lawyer.
He was great. He was fantastic. And this is the point. I'm disgusted by her behavior. It was disgraceful how she acted. They didn't prove murder, and that's what the charge was here.
I disagree. I think that justice in America sometimes means the killers walk because our standard of proof is so high. It's important to remember the jury today said...
Did they meet the standard?
Yes, they did. The jury
so the
today
jurors
said,
are stupid?
Nope, that's not what I said. The jury today said that she's not guilty. They did not say she's innocent. Innocent means that you had nothing to do with it. Not guilty means the prosecution didn't prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. I think people are confused over what that means, Sean. It doesn't mean the absence of any and all doubt. What the jurors should have been asking themselves is not what is possible, but what is reasonable. And is it reasonable for a mother to duct tape their child that accidentally drowned and throw her?
They did ask them. They asked that and answered that question. And they answered it with a not guilty verdict. And I think they answered it under circumstances in which no one, very few people could withstand the amount of pressure based on what was going on in the community in Florida. Now they have to go home to Pinellas County and say to neighbors who may have believed that Casey Anthony was guilty, listen, I heard the evidence. I decided after 6 or 7 weeks of trial, after 12 hours of deliberation, that I didn't believe they proved their case.
Her mom thinks she's guilty. Her dad thinks she's guilty.
Although it's not about that, though, I have to say. And I was very surprised with the verdict. I thought that they proved their case. Look, I've spent my entire career.
The best homicide prosecutor in Brooklyn.
I have spent 16 years doing this. I am a huge believer in our system. I believe our jury system works, although I was disappointed here. I disagree with you. I think they proved it. And I think the reason what it comes down to, I think it's going to be a reasonable doubt question.
Make the case for me. Tell me where the evidence is that either wasn't impeached or
Here's the evidence, and we're not going to start with the lies, because I know what you're saying, and you're right there. That doesn't prove her guilty of murder. You start with a baby who was found duct taped in a swamp. So right there, you have murder.
Right, great.
Whether you look at it by premeditated or felony murder, it's murder.
Tell me how she did it.
You look at the mom here. You go to her car. In her car, you have a hair that they have proven is hers based on DNA that came back to the family, and it goes back to everyone else.
It's a family car.
Chloroform vapor in the trunk?
Then it's post-mortem. They know it was after death. You have every possible way to prove decomposition. You have witness testimony that tells you it smelled like that. You have cadaver dogs that said it smelled like that. You have the air samples.
But look at the time. But you had 7 other people give you different testimony on the dates in question.
You only have one person, though, who for 31 days knows that child is gone and doesn't report it, and that is where the lies become pivotal here.
Junk science.
It's not junk science because it's new.
An incredible witness in terms of Mr. Anthony, an incredible witness that the jury chose to disregard based on this issue with regard to the mistress and based on the statement about an accident that snowballed out of control. This jury had more than enough to create reasonable doubt.
To meet that standard.
Absolutely.
Now, do I think that there's involvement here? There's a story here. And we need to, for that little girl's sake, we got to get to the bottom of it. And it may even be Casey involvement and George involvement.
There has to be justice.
There has to be justice for that girl.
But there can't be justice through vigilante television hosts.
I agree with you.
That's not a substitute. And you've never engaged in that. You would never. But that can't be a substitute for
I was watching TV. It was like Super Bowl Sunday. Who won today? The prosecution?
Sickening.
It was sickening. I agree with you. All right, we're going to come back more with our legal panel right after the break. Ready?